How's it going, sports fans? It's time for the Ruckus and the Menace podcast. I'm Menace the Menace.
And I am Ruckus in the basement rather than.
And yeah, on this episode is a little bit different, a little bit different, and a little bit different from your usual timing too, because schedules have kind of had us be able to record this a little earlier than we normally do.
It will still
But that
air
has
on
not
Thursday.
taken, yeah, it has not taken away from it's not taken away from the content that we have because most of the football week that we really wanted to use was already happened and baseball happened at and the CS is at the championship series at the right time. So a lot of those recaps are going to be there. We will not have a primetime game this week, but that's just due to not having enough time because of such the short turnaround to be able to do that. But I can't complain about that because we're still going to have some things going on. But kind of to start the pregame warm ups, anything much happened over the last few days, Ruckus?
Just watching sports, football, watching highlights for the postseason. Not much to complain about. The Chiefs won, so I'm happy about that. Other than that, yeah. For the recording today, if it sounds a little bit different, I'm just in a different spot. Right as for this one, it'll be the same next week, or it'll be the same stuff that we've been
It'll be back to
doing.
regular stuff next week.
Yeah. So if my mic sounds weird, it'll be better next week.
Yeah.
Anyways, what do you want to get right into things?
Well, mine's just been my work schedule inverted this week, so that's why we're doing this. But but really, mostly the thing that's kind of taken up a lot of my time this week has been home project, like really home projects. So we're kind of starting to make the house home, and then or more like home, and kind of get it into a new setup or new order, just simply because of now that we got the house painted, we can start doing a lot more. And my fiance's birthday is today, so we're going to be doing a few different things later. So we'll at least do dinner later. So at least we have something. So at least I've done something that day.
By the way, shout out to your girl
Yeah,
for her birthdays.
for her birthday. Yep. Uh, but but now that we've kind of gone through that, simulated games, we'll just get right to it. I mean, we really our fantasy football just kind of. I'm not having a great year. Just 2-5. My decision to go all in on the Colts just did not pay off at all.
I'm gonna
And
help you
and
out
also,
there. I'm gonna help you out there because here's the thing. I got lucky for this week, but also I thought about picking up Matt Ryan as my quarterback instead of Jimmy G, and I'm kind of glad I picked Jimmy G over him. But at the same time, I
oh,
was
I
really
have Jimmy
tempted.
G. I also now have Jimmy G, but I'm now going to cut Matt Ryan and start searching for a second quarterback again. So I'm
Yeah, it was just weird for me.
yeah, but I mean, also on top of that, Mark Andrews just did not have a game either. But that Ravens game was just ugly. That Ravens game was ugly. So I mean, just a couple of ugly games in combination of that. That was what it was.
I had an easy week, so
Um,
that's just me.
but now, but now that we kind of got out of the simulated games, I accidentally went a little too far, and we'll go right into our starting lineup here and recap the MLB playoffs. And now we're now to the best of sevens. And really, what was kind of the biggest surprise for you this week in championship series baseball, Ruckus?
The Padres choked hard. Like, yes, that second game against the Phillies made it look like they were gonna like fight to the bitter end, but no. All that money spent on talent just is going to next season pretty much is how it looks. And I don't even know if Tatis being there would have done anything for them.
It,
Maybe
it
they
would have
would have,
done absolutely nothing.
because Hasa Kim, you already have your shortstop when he's not there, or I think yeah he's a shortstop, and then second base is Cronenworth, right?
Right.
So that's what I was thinking in that mix. And then Soto, he just kind of showed up, and has just been kind of showing up for the most of the season, anyways. Um, I was very happy for the Phils because it's been a while since they've been in the World Series, since like '09, and
Yep.
my God, they looked a lot better, and I'm happy that they looked better. And yes, let's address the elephant in the room. The Astros beat the Yankees, but at the same time, the Yankees didn't do a whole lot to help themselves.
Yeah.
So
And I
honestly, all the
and
power
my
to the Astros.
and my biggest surprise was actually I knew the Astros were going to win the series. It was not so much the Astros winning. It was how they did it. They just looked that dominant. And the Yankees just did not have an answer. I mean, the Yankees were literally complaining about exit velos on balls hit that one that went about 91 miles an hour by Bregman went out, but then Aaron Judge hits about 106 mile an hour one and it's caught by Kyle Tucker. I thought the Bron
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're coming up with so many things that are like that's baseball answers.
That's just excuse after excuse after excuse. Like even Matt Carpenter, who had a hot year, like near the end of summer, before the postseason, like did not look like the Matt Carpenter that he was then. Obviously, he had injuries, so I'm not gonna just gonna be like he just straight up sucked in the postseason. Like I just don't think it was his series, or like really, I don't think he was 100%, and I don't think any of them were 100%. But still, like the Yankees just looked lost.
And I'm going to say this here was another thing. The Astros transitioned so smoothly at shortstop. They went from Carlos Correa to Jeremy Pena and did not lose a single step.
Yeah, that's for
Not
sure.
a one. That is just baffling.
I mean, it
Uh,
also kind of makes you think, forget like what happened if you weren't really paying close attention to baseball about it. You were just like a casual fan. You probably would have not known that Correa was gone unless someone like pointed it out, like the obvious, you know.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think about that, and then I was just like, oh yeah, Correa used to be there, but now he's on the Twins,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. You
yeah,
make it, it makes, and well, Correa is going to be opting out at the end of in the off season anyway, so he's now going to try and make more money.
yeah. I bet you he
Which,
goes to the Yankees because let's be honest, shortstop is a big need for them, and Kiner Faleva is not it. And
well, they played about four different shortstops or three different shortstops over like a 4 game span or something like that. They had like the Yankees just did not have like a consistent answer anywhere. They tried different shortstops. They were switching around the batting order with different leadoff hitters, different 5, 6, 7 guys. I and honestly, I would not even be surprised if Aaron Judge walks. I think Aaron Judge could leave New York.
I wouldn't be surprised if he went to like Boston or something like that.
I don't think I don't think Boston would be the answer for him. As great as it would be, as great as it would be to have him, I I would rather if we let Bogarts walk, I would rather have Dansby.
That sounds like a good fit for Swanson there as a whole, being in a Red Sox uniform, because he already kind of has that like that red uh going on for him. I wasn't gonna say crimson red because I don't think it's like the same
Red
actual
as the
red.
Braves, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I
But
wasn't gonna just be like,
but
oh, that's an easy one.
overall, Yeah, we can get into a little bit more of like the hot stove stuff with the MLB. Maybe a little later on because the World Series will wrap up, and then we'll have basically about a month, and then winter meetings occur.
Yep, and
So,
then the stirring, like the simmerings of the off season, but not really.
yep. But we both said the best series was the one that went longer, the Phillies Padres, and the World Series predictions. We both went differently, but we both said it in the same amount of games.
Yeah, I think the Phillies, if they show the fight that they showed against the Padres, which didn't really show a whole lot, I think they'll make it close against the Astros, but they need to be careful with uh, Framber Valdez and the other young pitchers that they have, and Justin Verlander. Because Justin Verlander is probably the easiest one out of all of them. You have the curveball of Valdez and whatever nasty pitches he's got up his sleeve. You got
The
uh,
interesting windup of Luis Garcia if he's throwing.
yes, and then you also have their bullpen, which is not to f with either. You
Yeah, and
don't.
yeah, Presley's no slouch closer.
I mean, you can make him look like a slouch, but it's very hard to.
Right.
That goes
But
for really anybody though.
I am taking the Astros in 6.
I'm taking
I'm,
the
I'm
I'm taking the Phillies in 6. I almost said
yeah,
Astros.
I'm taking the Astros because I think that pitching is what normally wins you these series. And if you have great pitching that can prevent you from going too deep into your bullpen too often, you will win more series like this more often of the time.
Oh, for sure.
I
And
mean,
that just goes for the regular
does hitting
season as a whole as well too, like with pitching. If you don't
yeah,
have good
but
pitching, you're gonna suffer and not even make it to the postseason.
yeah, but the regular yeah, but once but October pitching cranks up to another level. And
Yeah, every
the
pitch
hitting,
counts.
well, I mean, not to say that hitting is not important, but I think that the pitching in this series is going to be what the biggest difference maker is. And the common denominator is that while Houston and Philly both have solid aces, I think the pen of the Astros will win them more series or more games in this series than not.
Right.
And now that we've kind of recapped baseball, let's recap football without Monday Night Football. But Monday Night Football, I think, is going to be a stinker of a game. So it may be in that worst game compared to what we had.
That's
But
just what you think, man. Just kidding.
it's the Bears and the Patriots. You ain't getting much out of that.
We'll see.
But but from the games we've seen, who was the most impressive team this week?
For me, obviously, the Chiefs, because of the fact they looked ugly in the beginning of the game against the 49ers, but then they ended up kicking ass and taking names near the end of the game, but no one thought that was going to happen. They probably thought, okay, this is going to be a little bit close, and it did look like that after the half, and then whenever they started up the next half in the third quarter, that's when the tides turned, obviously. But in the beginning of that, you're probably like, crap, are we actually going to get through this? And the answer was maybe at the time. It wasn't, oh, hell yeah, we're just going to score, like, have a 3 touchdown lead, everything's going to be hunky dory, kumbaya. No. It was, it was, it was a, it was a nail biter till near the fourth quarter, I would say. And I was happy that Joshua Williams got his first interception as a rookie for the Kansas City Chiefs. Shout out to number 23.
I am taking the Washington Commanders as my most impressive team this week. QB change.
Yeah,
So
Heineke is where it's at. When I saw that Wentz first came to the Commanders, I was like, this is a effing joke. Just straight up.
yeah, but I mean Heineke's still in a contract year too. I mean, if we end up retaining him, we're going to have to pay him more. But Taylor Heineke is the type of quarterback that really is to lead this Washington Commanders team. I mean, and then also it was like a hard fought win at home against the Packers. And and the defense dealing with Aaron Rodgers on the other side, which we have had a history of not dealing well with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But your most disappointing team this week, Ruckus?
It's got to be the Buccaneers.
I was going to take that, but I think there was one that kind of hurt me a whole lot worse, and that was the Indianapolis Colts. The Titans had given up the most amount of passing related points and such, and yet the Colts were able to do absolutely nothing about it. So much that other things that we're going to hold off talking about until later to kind of try and turn it around, because it's going to be in a later segment.
Yep. All right.
Most impressive player for you this week?
All right. So this man came back after 6 weeks of not being with his team because of some stupid tests that he failed. Yeah, I know it was drugs or whatever, but still, he's an old man. Give him a break. Um, he had 10 receptions totaling for 103 yards, which was about an average of 10 yards per reception. Obviously, 10, 10 not 10, 10. 10 and 100 gives you 10 if you divide 100 into 10. Yeah, simple math. But yeah, DeAndre Hopkins looked really well on his start back from being gone, and like we said last week, we were saying, hey, he needs to come in and play and not just kind of slowly get into it, and he showed that he could get into it.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Yeah, Hopkins is 30, so yeah, I could see why you said he was an old receiver. But other than that, I mean, for me, the most impressive player, I got to give it to Joe Burrow as a quarterback, because I had seen people say it was like, oh, there were a couple throws that was like, man, these are only throws that like the elite quarterbacks could make. But he had 481 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks, and just Burrow had a very strong passing day.
Man, he could really flick the booger, can he? Just like Peyton. Dude, when I was more obsessed with looking at like the way the ball was like flying around in the air from the 49ers game so much compared to other games when Mahomes throws it, but man, that 49ers game when he kept on flicking it and then like the ball started like slowly dying off, I was like, oh man, that looks so cool.
Yeah. Like just the amount of touch thrown.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ruckus, it is time for our Clint Eastwood segment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, this
So,
time it actually picked up thanks to not having NVIDIA broadcast, but hooray.
but Ruckus, what were your good thing, bad thing, ugly thing this week?
Alright, my good thing for this week
You
was
you
sorry.
you only need to do
I'm
you do it
causing a
as the intro. You
ruckus.
don't do it like during the week. You don't do it during each piece.
Watch me. No, I'm just kidding. So my good was Christian McCaffrey with a solid start with his new team, the 49ers. And as the analysts and everybody during the broadcast of the game were saying, he said he only needed 2 days to really study the playbook or whatnot, which it sounds kind of cocky, but and whatever. But hey, the man came to play, and he had one job, which was to run the ball.
And I think he was heavily wanted by San Francisco as well. I think Shanahan really wanted him.
Yeah, you don't have very many at running back besides Debo, and Debo's not really a running. I mean, yes, they use him in that role, but I feel like he could be more utilized as a wide receiver if they needed to.
or at least Christian McCaffrey opens it up for that.
Yeah, and then my bad is the Packers offense because my God, you have okay. So your wide receiver core is pretty bad. I mean, it's not as bad as the Buccaneers when it comes to players being healthy and just the talent that you have on the field. The Packers in general just didn't look good last or this week, and it showed in the Commanders game. By the way, congratulations to your Commanders for coming out of it.
Yeah, it took a lot of fight and hit and one big touchdown to Terry McLaurin, but
Yeah, I was so happy when I saw that because I was like, "Yay, fantasy points!" But yeah, Packers offense was not good. You have Sammy Watkins and Lizard and Tanyan, but even then, come on, man. And then the ugly was and this is a big one, the Buccaneers 4-game losing streak, and it doesn't settle in very well even against a team that is having a bad time when it comes to the media, as far as Matt Rule being fired, and then two of their main players, Robbie Anderson and obviously Christian McCaffrey, being traded. It did not look good for the Buccaneers, especially when you have Brady on your team. And yes, I just said that his wide receiver core is shoddy at best.
I mean, Mike Evans did just drop an open dime.
But also, the Panthers, and the situation they're in, they freaking scorched earth. The Buccaneers. Like, they stole their booty. Like, it was bad. They don't have any gold coin left. The rum is gone. But anyways, yeah, that was my good, bad, and ugly for this week. Spennis?
All right, so my good. Carolina playing like they have a huge weight lifted off of their shoulders with McCaffrey and Matt Rule gone. I mean, in that vein, that it looks like Carolina. It looks like the head of the snake of the problem has been stomped out for the most part. Is Carolina good now? No, but but do but do at least some of the problems that ultimately were holding them back kind of get tossed away and sent into the fire? Absolutely. The bad. The Lions, after what looked like an impressive start to the season, now seem to be falling apart. And I even think this could go to the point that Dan Campbell's job may be in doubt. I mean, the team is heavily behind him, but it's hard when the doldrums of losing game after game after game after game are there, and they're just not getting it done.
Yeah.
And then the ugly I'm going to throw in there, the we have a new ugly. We have a new ugly that kind of came out today. I think the one that really was longer standing, the Broncos quarterback situation. Broncos country, that offense is dead.
As Chuck Charles Barkley would say, that's just terrible, Ernie, just terrible. But
Yep.
also, to end this good, bad, and ugly, wah, 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 wah.
Oh my. But it's one of those things where you've got all this stuff with Russell Wilson not doing well. Rippon didn't have a great game yesterday. It it's making for, I'm hoping, a Nathaniel Hackett firing, because nothing is getting done the way that we expected.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that one, to be honest. At least Carolina doesn't feel like they're the odd ones out, though, if you catch my drift, when it comes to the media talking about them and whatnot. Like, Carolina's probably has a sigh of relief because of that situation the Broncos are having compared to their
I mean, you
situation.
have quarterback. Well, but I'm also saying that really, and honestly, I had one bold take. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it to a later portion. But go right into your best game, and I'm actually gonna add something.
All right, sounds good. So my best game, obviously, since my most impressive team was the Chiefs, I put my best game as the Chiefs and Niners because it was close in the beginning, and then obviously near the end it started to become like a snooze fest. But hey, you never know what's gonna happen in a football game until it happens. So that's why I picked the Chiefs and Niners. Jimmy G played pretty good, but Mahomes did a little bit better. What do you think, Spennis? What is your best game?
My best game, obviously, the Commanders Packers. I mean, the Commanders get down early. Heineke fights them back, gets a big touchdown to take the lead, secures the lead. Green Bay tries one last thing that ends with a forward lateral by Aaron Rodgers that goes through a teammate's legs and out of bounds. I mean, you've got all the craziness that could have possibly came out of it, and it was a huge win. And I believe it was also alumni weekend, a major alumni weekend that Chris Cooley chose not to attend. And the worst game this week for you was?
The Lions and Cowboys. Just that one was really ugly from the beginning to the end, I would say. The Lions looked good and then they kind of flopped at the red zone, and then the Cowboys obviously did better than them and won that won this week, but yeah, I don't have much else to add on that.
I am taking the Jets Broncos, and not just because of the Broncos quarterback situation. Brees Hall also tore his ACL. So there goes that season.
Yikes.
And I think the Jets might have now finally ran into a little bit of trouble.
Do you think that they trade for running back or try to claim one off waivers like from a practice squad?
You might be able to find something, but I don't know how much of a diamond in the rough you're going to end up finding.
Who knows?
Yep. And what is your bold take this week, Ruckus?
All right, Chiefs Kingdom, bear with me. Pacheco, yeah, he's got all these bells and whistles, and I've said before, and I've appraised him a lot. But let's be real here. Do we think that this experiment is gonna work for him being running back one right now? Obviously, he's looking really good, but do you think it's going to last? Because personally, I think it could, but I'm very skeptical, but a little optimistic at the same time. That's my bold take for this week. Isaiah Pacheco.
I am coming with two bold takes this week, two major takeaways. The first one is that Tua's toughness is not to be doubted. I mean, he comes off of a major hip injury while he was at Bama, recovers from that, gets drafted to Miami, deals with these concussion scenarios like in weeks 3 and 4, and then after 3 weeks has come back and played pretty well against Pittsburgh. And his opening drive in that series ended with a touchdown. So Tua's toughness is not to be questioned. But the one that I was going to add in there, quarterbacks traded for by certain teams during the offseason have not been the best fit. Yes, I am actually saying this. There were some
Bravo.
team there were teams that were so desperate to trade for a quarterback or change their quarterback situation that it just did not fit.
That's a valid point because here we go. Do you want me to take over or
Well, you can. Well, what situation were you going to start with?
Oh, I was just gonna go with a broad thing, like with Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. We all know how that's turned out so far.
Yep.
Matt Ryan to the Colts.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna
Carson Wentz
say.
to the Commanders.
That was a joke
Carson
in
Wentz
itself. That
to
was a meme.
Carson Wentz to the Commanders.
Um,
Then you have Baker Mayfield to Carolina.
yep. And then
We
you
have not,
have
we really haven't truly seen the Cleveland change with Deshaun Watson yet, but
yeah, they have the brisket and Jacoby Brisket.
embrace it. Yep. Um, Now the outlier in this might be Marcus Mariota.
He was signed though. He wasn't traded.
Yeah, but he was a team. Yeah, but still, he was. I mean, if you're talking teams that have changed quarterback situations,
That is true.
Mariota may have been a signing. This is definitely an outlier to the. I mean, it's an outlier that actually has worked as
Yeah,
far as
you're right.
a changing for a quarterback. Um, and actually, I'll even say the Geno Smith thing has worked out. I mean, that
Oh
quarterback situation
yeah,
change for Seattle worked out.
that was a freaking wild card out of nowhere. No one thought that. Okay, Geno Smith for most of his career has been kind of not good, and then now seeing a resurgence with that's pretty impressive.
Well,
Kind
he
of,
was more so known for getting punched out by Ike McPolly
yeah.
as a Jet. So, um, but then you had, but then again, I would say the Jets situation as far as having to start with Flacco doing that was an injury cause thing. That doesn't matter. But most of these teams that had to deal with major quarterback changes, about a good percentage of, especially the ones that were desperate to trade for a quarterback, the situation did not fare well for the quarterback that was put into it.
Yeah.
There are certain differences involved with this, but yeah, we're not letting Russ cook because Russ has now left the kitchen burned.
Not to mention he's giving everybody food poisoning.
Yeah,
He left a
because
bad taste in their mouths as well.
well, everything was undercooked.
Not even a microwave can save Russ's cooking.
It, but the burning question: where are you going with this one?
Man, I liked how you transitioned to that.
Yeah,
you're like let the kitchen burn now the burning question. Man. All right. My burning question this week uh is pretty much already in the headlines at this point on NFL news cuz the trade deadline is coming up. And one of those headlines is Chase Claypool being possibly traded to the Packers to add depth to the wide receiver core in Green Bay. And then another one was Jerry Jeudy. But I don't know if Jerry Jeudy would also be in the mix for the Packers or if he would just be in the mix in general for any team that is necessarily wanting to pick up his contract. I don't know if if he's still on a rookie contract or if he signed something or extended or what, but interesting to see what happens in the trade deadline. Obviously, we already had McCaffrey and Robbie go as of now, but who is left to come around?
oh, so you're more so wanting to talk about the wide receiver trade market,
Yeah,
and is it the right time for some of these teams to trade wide receivers?
right.
I don't know.
Because the
I don't
Broncos
know.
are not looking good, and the Steelers looking okay, but not where they should be.
It depends on how much you want to blow that up, and really, and you almost want to like observe what the next quarterback class or wide receiver class coming into the draft is really before you do anything.
Yeah,
I've heard that this quarterback class is very loaded for 2023. But Denver was one of those teams that really did not take advantage of drafting a receiver. But I think what also didn't help is that a good amount of their picks went right to the Seahawks.
They did go for a lot of defensive depth, though, as far as the Broncos.
But I
They,
think they were trying to turn that team into a very defensive juggernaut,
yeah.
while the offense has just started to work itself. Like, while the offense was supposed to be, like, Russell Wilson was supposed to be the savior of this offense. No, injuries have also hurt the Broncos as well. So
No, Russ, putting it on one won't make the water boil. You gotta put it up to at least 7. This is why we can't have nice things.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's some things that just the Broncos just did not have right. But I think my burning question is definitely something that really probably has been said throughout much of this and probably has existed since training camp. Was Tom Brady better off staying retired? I mean, you're he's 45, he's going through a whole lot of crap, and now a lot of that stuff he was going through is coming out. Like, was he really better off not playing this season, just riding off into the sunset from the year before, trying to suppress his cleaner style personality and quest for more, when he really probably should have just maybe rested on his laurels and actually just taken a break? Like, just
Yeah,
and just
because didn't Brett Favre kind of do the same thing?
yeah, I mean, this is Brett Favre all over again.
Well, let's not go too far into that whole Brett Favre saga because we don't know if Tom Brady has allegedly taken money from poor states
Oh,
and whatnot.
no. We're not going into that degree, and we're not even going into the whole scandal with the Jets either.
Yeah, and Giselle would not be happy either
But
or.
I'm talking this whole retire, like, I'm gonna retire. Psych! I'm coming back.
Yeah, the Fountain of Youth can only work so much, and when it comes to the talent that you have on the field, also hurts that ability to keep the Fountain of Youth going. Like you don't have Edelman anymore, you don't have Gronkowski anymore, you don't have Wes Welker anymore. You haven't had that guy for like 10 years plus.
Yep.
You gotta like either move on and retire or figure some stuff out,
I
man.
almost wanted to say the bold take of, like, Max Kellerman had said, yeah, the whole, like, Tom Brady was eventually gonna fall off a cliff. Here's the cliff, and I'm sorry. I mean, granted that this was a few years too early, Max, but now finally at 45, Tom Brady's fountain of youth has now officially run dry.
What if you literally bring him to his cliff, like by trading him to Arizona? Then you have his cliff.
Shut up.
I knew that was gonna happen.
That was terrible. That
See,
was
now he's going off a
terrible.
cliff. He's going to Arizona.
Yeah, but that would involve, like, getting rid of Kyler Murray.
Not necessarily. You could probably.
Yes, it would.
No, it
Yes,
wouldn't.
it would.
No, it would not.
Yes, it would. There's too much money. There's too much money involved with that. Plus, a pure quarterback swap at that point, no way. Move on to the film room.
And this is when Spanish decides to suffocate me with the pillow.
Oh, but last week we had a perfect record from one of us.
We, hold up, it was all you. Like,
Yeah.
don't bring me into this. I didn't get the 10-0.
I was just saying we had a perfect record among us.
Just rubbing salt in the wound again, man.
I'm more shocked that I did it.
Rubbing
Like,
salt
because
into the wound.
I'm the one laying out the games, but it's not like I'm picking stuff that's like super easy to predict.
And you're not like
Like,
Biff from Back to the Future either, where you just find the sports almanac and then go into the future and then bet every winning team.
right, right. I mean, I'm actually picking like I'm actually throwing like, oh, two top 25 teams playing each other, and then kind of like the best like middle ground games in the NFL. But now the gap between Ruckus and I is 19 games. Wait, yeah, 25 and 30. Hold on. Did I not change something? Oh, no, the gap's now 14 games.
I was about to
40...
get the calculator going.
Hold up here. 25. Might be. Yeah, because I'm looking here. It's like supposed to be 65. It's supposed to be 6. I think it's like at 65. Because I know you've won. I think you're at 30 and 35. I think you're at 30 and 35. Something like that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yep. But now our first games. First games this week. Ohio State, Penn State.
I'm going to go Ohio State for that.
Yep. OHIO.
And then for the OSU K-State game,
K-State.
I'm going OSU.
Yeah. Yep. And then Tennessee and Kentucky. I'm going Tennessee.
Yeah, and I'm going to go Tennessee as well. I'm going to be mad, though, straight up, if Kentucky upsets them, and then I see it on social media later, but we'll see. I don't really have any investment to either team.
Yep. Yeah, I have friends who are, like, diehard Tennessee fans.
Alright,
so Ravens, Buccaneers.
I got the Ravens. And then the Jets, Patriots. I'm gonna, do they have Mac Jones back yet?
I don't know.
Either way, I'm going Patriots.
Yeah, with Breece Hall's injury, and Belichick's defense, I'm taking the Patriots.
You better Belichick yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yep, Cardinals, Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings. The Commanders, Colts. I am taking the Commanders.
Yeah, we're doing that. Commanders.
Rams, 49ers. I'm taking the 49ers. And Giants, Seahawks.
Are they at home against the Rams, or are they away at the Rams Stadium? I think that means that they're at Rams if it's 49ers versus Rams, correct?
Let's see. We are looking at week 8. 49ers, Rams. Where is it? It's at SoFi.
Oh, that's a definite. I'm gonna say Rams for that one.
Yeah, I probably. Yeah, I think.
And then the Giants Seahawks, is it at CenturyLink Stadium, or is it at
it's in the 12th man.
So MetLife?
No. That's Seattle.
Okay, I didn't know it was called the 12th man.
No, I was saying like the 12th man is there, the fans.
The Giants. I'm going with the Giants, just straight up.
You're going to take the Giants on the road.
I mean, they were on the road technically against the Packers. Both teams were, but I mean, they still stunned the Packers. They stunned a lot of teams this season. I'm not counting them out.
Yep, all right. And I took the Seahawks, so... Okay. So our color commentary this week. The question is do we have an imposter? Are these NFL contender, or are these NFL teams a contender or an imposter? The New York Giants.
I feel like this is a little sus. Let's say I'm gonna say impasta, even though I literally just said that the Giants were gonna beat up on the Seahawks.
The Giants are showing that they are surprisingly for real, but I just don't think they're going to make a deep run. I'm going to say impasta. The Jets.
I'm gonna say imposters.
I I am going to say due to the injury of Brees Hall, I mean, they're just I don't think they're ready yet either. Impasta. The Dallas Cowboys. Excuse me.
The Dallas Cowboys, they are a because you have it's between them and the Eagles, right, in their division, or
The Giants are up there too.
okay. I was trying to contemplate. I'm gonna say they're contenders.
The Cowboys?
I,
They're a playoff accident waiting to happen.
I mean, you could say that
They
about a
are,
lot of teams, though.
and the Eagles are in that division. I'm gonna say the Cowboys are impastas. The Seattle Seahawks.
Imposters.
I think the Seahawks are playing better than expected, but I am going to say impasta for them as well. The Tennessee Titans.
They are imposters. Get out of here.
I think the Titans now that they're finally starting to come around, they're contenders. I think they can contend, especially if they stay healthy, but I think their pass defense could use a whole lot of work. Although they showed signs of much improvement. Now the Indianapolis Colts, especially with the changes that they had going on, impasta.
Yeah, they're imposters. They need to go away. We need to get that win back from them.
The LA Chargers.
They are contenders mainly because even though they have a lot of people injured, they still have what it takes. I wouldn't rule them out.
Yeah, I think contenders. Yep. Green Bay Packers.
If you can get your shit together, Green Bay, I'm gonna call you a contender. And right now, I still have faith. It's still early, technically.
Impasta. The Minnesota Vikings are the team in that division now. The Green Bay Packers are the impastas. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Get out of
I
here.
think this one's easy enough.
Get out of
Impasta.
here. Imposter.
The Baltimore Ravens.
uh, imposters. Just
Ooh.
up. Straight up. You don't have an offense that's like really established, and your defense is a freaking joke. Marcus Peters is not your answer. And isn't not Marshawn Lattimore. Who was the guy that they got from the Saints in the offseason?
Marcus Williams.
That's what I'm thinking of. Marcus Williams is a joke too.
Yeah, I'm borderline on the Ravens actually. I mean, Lamar Jackson has shown that he can win ugly, but you can't play ugly and win ugly all at the same time and expect to go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the Ravens are a slight impasta. They're almost like that wolf in sheep's clothing at this point. Not like they look like they can do it, but they're really a fraud. But the Cincinnati Bengals, I still think they're contenders. I think they're tougher than what they look.
Yeah, and they showed a little bit of a resemblance to what the Chiefs were as well. They get a harder schedule, and teams start to figure them out more. And that syndrome happens more often than not with any team when they start showing up.
And when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm going to say it, Humpty Dumpty is being put back together again. Humpty Dumpty, that is Joe Burrow, after his great fall of an appendectomy, is being put back together again. He's looking like himself again. Now, a couple of other teams that I didn't put down, but I think we really should look at the Miami Dolphins.
Um, if Tua doesn't look like a, I'll say it again and now. If Tua doesn't crawl up and like a spider like he did in that Monday night game, and he stays healthy, and they don't have any more controversy like that, there's probably a good chance that they could be contenders.
I think that they could make a whole lot of noise. I really think it's going to come down to that defensive side of the ball for them.
Yeah, because they lost a lot yesterday in the
Yeah.
defensive side.
The LA Rams and San Francisco 49ers are also two others that
I don't know what to say about that one.
I think the Rams just are something is missing. And it may have been that void that Von Miller left.
I would I would probably say it's more the fact that they don't have a whole lot of weapons to go through offensively. Yes, you have Cooper Cup, who you overpaid.
Oh,
You
well, overpaid?
Yeah.
I mean, overpaid for maybe a number one, but I mean,
We all saw what happened with Tyreek Hill trying to get more money, and that wasn't going to happen
I'm
with the
gonna say
Chiefs.
that Allen Robinson doesn't belong. The
Yeah, he
running
hasn't
back
shown a lot of
situation's not that,
promise.
and their running back situation's not that great. But if the
Yeah,
Rams would, but I think if the Rams instead of having Allen Robinson would have been able to retain Bobby Trees, they'd be just fine.
who the hell's Bobby Trees?
Robert Woods.
Oh, that's actually a clever name. I never heard of that until just now.
Yeah, so really, I think the lack of Robert Woods being able to do a whole lot. I mean, Cooper Cup. If you really look at his production, and I'm actually wanting to look up something here because this is receiving. Oh, Cooper Cup is second in receptions. He's he's in the top five. He's fifth in receiving yards. Fifth in receiving yards, and has 4 touchdowns. So he's among like some of the top dogs in touchdowns. So really, I think that you've got Cooper Cup is still the real deal. He's still the real deal. It's just you would say that he is severely being overpaid, but but for what you're getting out of it, he actually is really good. I mean, his last 3 games still 7 receptions, 80 yards, 7 receptions, 125 yards and a score. And then the 49ers game, he had 14 receptions for 122 yards with no score. I mean, his best game this season was 11 receptions for 108 yards and 2 scores against the Falcons, though he did lose a fumble in that game.
Yeah.
So it's not like, so I mean, even when you're looking at the numbers, I mean, do we really think we paid or they paid too much for Cooper Cup? In a real sense, maybe when it comes to the money, maybe, but for what you're getting out of him at this stage, I don't think so. And then the San Francisco 49ers, I think defensively they're solid. Contenders could be something you really say about them too. And the Rams could be a sleeping contender at this point right now.
Yeah.
And now we kind of wrap up with stud and dud of the week.
You want me to end it
And,
or
yep,
start it?
yeah, go ahead and start it, Ruckus.
All right. So my stud for this week is Juju Smith-Schuster from yes. As of recording, it is Monday, but yesterday he got 7 receptions for a total of 124 yards with an average of 17 yards a catch. That's a
Yeah,
nice.
because you
He's a
put a carry, you put a carry. That is yards per carry is a rushing term. So that's why
anyways.
I wrote that down as a correction.
Yards a catch. My bad. So he got some yak. He was yakking out there. And then my dud is the San Diego Padres' performance as a whole in the NLCS against the Fighting Phils. All that money spent, and then it just went right down the toilet.
I am shocked that you just did not kind of call like a single pot. Like you're honestly like calling out the whole team. Like you're throwing the
Yeah,
whole team.
straight up, because they didn't show up. So like you can't just blame it on one particular person on there. It's the whole team. The whole team slumped.
Yeah, honestly, I would have almost if I would have gone to one. I think it probably would have been Trent Grisham who went like 0 for 18 in like a certain stretch, and he was like one of the bottom hitters. And really, the Padres 7, 8, 9 hitters, which are normally the most important hitters you want to have doing well, along with the top of your order that is expected to do well. Like their role players just were not able to do anything.
Yeah, it was
A
just a
lot,
shame.
a lot of their like niche players. But my stud this week is Bryce Harper for hitting a clutch home run to win the NLCS MVP. He has now made the first World Series of his career. This is though the Freudian slip happened earlier, 3 years after the Freudian slip, where he's in Philly and he's talking about wanting to win a World Series in DC. 3 years after that slip, that ended up with the Nationals winning the World Series in 2019. Harper finally gets there with his first shot at it.
That's pretty awesome.
But then my dad, in the Colts quarterback vein, Matt Ryan is benched. I mean, a very turbulent first 7 games of the season, and how I had mentioned that quarterbacks that were traded for, especially for teams that were desperate for it. And honestly, I think the real take should have been the real burning question is should the Indianapolis Colts have even traded Carson Wentz at all?
I think they probably would have dumped his salary or something, but they were trying to, because in the end,
The
obviously,
Colts
they're.
probably should have restructured.
Oh, and then have him as like a backup in case they got someone and then they got
No,
hurt.
restructured the deal. No, restructured the deal.
Right. Because
Have you
they
have you
did the
pay
same
less off the
thing.
front?
Sorry.
Yeah, have you pay less off the find a way to have you pay less off the front. Because I mean, shoot, Carson Wentz was fine in Indianapolis. I mean, Indianapolis for basically abandoning, like pretty much just like kicking him to the curb so easily was the part that annoyed it. Was the part that annoyed me more. You kick Carson Wentz to the curb, and Carson Wentz has that cannon of an arm that you can use to get to guys like Pittman and some of these other guys you got. But then, yeah, you go to this vanilla Matt Ryan dink and dunk. Matt Ryan might have actually been a better, well, minus the Scott Turner down the field stuff that they want to try. Like, Matt Ryan may have been a better fit in DC. Jimmy G probably would have been a better fit in DC. And I think that was the one that really, I think the Commanders really wanted was Jimmy G.
Yeah, and when I was interrupting you earlier, I was gonna say they could have done what the 49ers did with restructuring Jimmy G and done the same thing with Wentz, and then maybe they could have drafted someone and brought him up a little bit, and pulled like an Alex Smith where You
this quarterback class was lacking in 2020. The 2022
right.
draft class at quarterback wise was lacking. I don't think you really had a quarterback that you could go to for that.
Yeah, and like,
Unfortunately.
which is sad because last night when I was watching the game, at the end, Brock Purdy had a couple of throws to some receivers on the 49ers, and he looked pretty decent compared to his predecessor.
Yeah. Wait, and was that for the Chiefs?
No, 49ers. So Henny's our backup.
Oh.
But the
Oh.
backup for the 49ers is Brock Purdy. They sent out the rookie, I think, because
Wait.
they were down by
Wait.
like
Did
three
Jimmy G
touchdowns.
get hurt?
No, they
Did
were.
Jimmy
I think they were resting him because they were down by 3 touchdowns, and it was already
Oh, oh,
pretty
that they
late
had
in the
pulled
quarter.
they pulled him and they went through all of that. But
Yeah,
then also what also doesn't help is that they've also got Trey Lance who's on IR as well. So I think the 49ers are going to have to dump something. And they're probably going to try and make another ploy to dump Jimmy G in the offseason. So because they're like, "Oh, Trey Lance is their guy." Well, I'm sorry. No, Jimmy G is truly the one that should be running your team at quarterback.
yeah.
Dump Trey Lance while you still have some value on that rookie contract. Well, Ruckus, go ahead and take us out.
All right, this has been the Ruckus and the Menace podcast, episode 29. Yes, I almost slipped there at the end. I'll own it. Thank you for listening to our podcast. I apologize that the audio was a little bit off on my end, but at the same time, this was a probably one-time deal. We'll see what happens later in the future. But anyways, thank you for listening to this podcast. I'm Ruckus.
And I'm Spence the Menace.
And we will see you guys next Thursday.
Deuces.
Deuces.